All right, you guys. Turning Red very well might be like the worst Pixar movie, the worst like kids movie I've seen in so long. I'm sitting here in our bedroom with this crazy um, orange light. So sorry about the lighting. I know it looks weird. Um, I just watched the movie with Kristen, and it's horrible. This movie is absolute like garbage. Um, and I'm sitting here talking to you about it. I just watched it. We're here with this the Gospel Coalition um, review of this film. I haven't actually read this review, but this movie is so bad that I want to read through this review and talk to you guys about why this movie is so awful. So, for starters, what to say about this movie? Like, Kristen's over here on the side. She's not going to come on camera, but she'll add some things if she wants to. Um, yeah, you're the audience. um, so this movie is about a girl who turns into a red panda when she gets super emotional, and the whole movie is like her trying to cope with that and trying to get it under control, but also like she kind of likes being able to turn into a red panda whenever she wants. So she thinks that's good. And her family, who is super controlling, wants her to get rid of it because they all got rid of theirs because it's inconvenient to turn into a red panda. The point is the girl turns into a red panda. And you know what? Let's just jump into the article. Let's just jump into the article. Okay, it starts off with this. The story in Pixar's Turning Red is highly specific. Okay, this is very true. A 13-year-old Chinese-Canadian girl struggles with the transitions of puberty in early 2000s Toronto. Yet, like all specific stories, there are universal themes that play a subtle but significant worldview assumptions that need to be probed. Yeah, this movie is like really stupidly specific. So specific, in fact, that it's one of the most unrelatable children's films I've ever seen. Like, I cannot imagine a 10-year-old boy watching this film and enjoying it. I didn't enjoy it, and I have way more life experience than a 10-year-old boy. Like, unless you are a 13-year-old girl or a 20-something-year-old person, you cannot relate to anybody in this film. The three main characters are these three girls who are typical 13-year-old girls. They're very much the same kind of people. There's one 13-year-old boy who's kind of a jerk and is a minor character, is not really friends with them. And then there's this girl's like parents. They're her Chinese descended parents who are like the typical stereotypical Chinese family. You know, there's all the stereotypes in this film with them pulling on their cheeks when they come to visit, to the pushing food on them. What? Yeah, all the aunties. Yeah, so it's a very specific film. Like, so specific that I find it very unrelatable. The author here says, I enjoyed many. Who's this author? Brett McCracken. That's a great last name. I enjoyed many aspects of this film. That's more than I can say about it. The animation is top notch. That's true. The jokes are often funny. I didn't find any of them funny. Did I laugh at all at this film? Yeah, well, okay, there was one time when I laughed, and we'll get to that. But this film was not very funny. Furthermore, the film nails generational conflict in immigrant families and the unavoidable awkwardness of puberty. Okay, I guess. They did have a long spat at the beginning about them thinking that Malin just had her first period, and that was kind of... I guess it was I don't know. I, I, I don't know what to make of that. It was, yeah, okay, Kristen says it was cringy if you didn't hear it. It was, I didn't find it to be, like, necessarily in good taste, even if it was, I don't know. I don't think it was as, it was weird for a children's film, which brings me to another point. We'll probably get to this later. This is not a children's film, by the way, and several of the reviews I saw on Rotten Tomatoes admitted this. This is this is a film for teens and tweens, and for parents who are raising young children. It basically preaches at parents, and it's like a film for teens and tweens to relate to. This is not a kids movie. It's just marketed as a kids movie because it's Pixar. Director Dami Shi, herself a Chinese Canadian who grew up in Toronto, has explicitly said that the red panda is a metaphor for magical puberty. What? What is magical puberty? What does that mean? Ma-
No, mine wasn't magical.
Magical puberty? Okay. It's a movie about coming of age. I don't know. What? Magical puberty. Okay. Seriously, I actually don't know how to take that. What does that mean? Why would you call it puberty? Why would you not call it like magical coming of age or like? But what does even that mean? A magical coming of age story? I've magically become an adult in a magical way? Okay, and Turning Red, rated PG, good it should be, captures well the messy volatility of this life stage. You know, have I had my magical puberty yet? Do you think I have? Because I don't know. I can't use magic. So, is my magical voice going to start cracking when magical puberty happens? What is this? Okay, again, so McCracken says, I actually liked the film's honest, sympathetic approach to the experience of puberty. Okay, whatever. It provides a good discussion fodder for parents of young ladies on the verge or in the midst of this oft-tumultuous developmental transition. It's a pity, then, that many of Turning Red's ideas and messages are so unhelpful. That's an understatement. They're not unhelpful, they're actually bad. Like, the themes in this film are actually bad. It's amoral. They're not good. They're actually evil messages. For all its merits, the film ultimately advocates a wrong-headed central message under the guise of empowerment. And that's really well stated, under the guise of empowerment. Embrace who you are, even your reckless vices and dangerous impulses, and don't let anyone stop you. And that's exactly the message that gets pounded through this film. It becomes really obvious. Like, the fact that this girl turns into a panda when she gets really emotional and upset, but when she's calm, she goes back to being normal. And so in the beginning, in the beginning of the movie, she's like trying to get her emotions under control and trying to be very calm and adult-like and mature because she doesn't want anyone to see that she's a panda. But and then when she realizes that her friends all like the panda, that she can use the panda to get a bunch of money, so she can go to a K-pop concert. She's like, it's like a mixture of K-pop and the Jonas Brothers, actually. Anyway. So this 13-year-old girl wants to go to this concert. So when she realizes that all these people love her panda, but her family is like, oh no, you have to get rid of the panda by sealing it away. That becomes a point of conflict. So the moral of the story is actually like, accept who you are, even your bad things, and make room for them. We'll probably get into that here in the article. If we don't, I'll talk about it later. Don't tame the beast, let it out. In Turning Red, protagonist Maylin Lee discovers that her inner beast comes out when her emotions get riled up. She literally turns into an 8-foot-tall red panda, which is also ridiculous because I talked about this. Red pandas are like the size of a cat. The story plays with the old Jekyll and Hyde trope, or Bruce Banner and the Hulk, if you're literarily illiterate. But as is the fashion for our non-binary age, it suggests the oppositional categories are outmoded and harmful. It's not about pitting our inner Jekyll against our inner Hyde. It's about embracing both as essential sides to the authentic self. It's the natural arc of our modern age, from black and white to everything gray, reframing dysphoria as euphoria. Traditionally, the idea that these Jekyll-Hyde stories is that humans are inherently conflicted. Our fleshly passions are at odds with our logic and will, with the former often leading us to rash, irrational chaos, while the latter helps us cultivate virtue and contain the potential damage or unwieldy passions might inflict. So yeah, I mean, that's really a good way of complicatedly telling the story. I mean, simplifying it, it's just like she has a conversation with her dad right before she's about to go through this ceremony to get rid of the panda. And the dad tells her that, I saw you like playing around with your friends in the panda form, and you look like you were having a lot of fun, and you looked like you were really happy, and it made me laugh, and I liked that side of you. And so, you know what? Like, he says, sometimes you don't have to get rid of the. He literally says this. Okay, I'm not exaggerating here. He actually says sometimes I might not have the words exactly verbatim, but he actually says the bad things in your life, okay? Sometimes you have to make room for the bad in your life rather than getting rid of it. Pushing it out? Yeah, is that what he says? The moral of this movie is don't improve yourself. Embrace the bad things about you, and if other people don't like that, then you just have to get rid of them out of your life. Like, what a harmful lesson to teach somebody. It's what I saw that a lot of people talking about this film, and I did not expect it to be this bad. I was not expecting anything this bad. Of course, this is a deeply theological idea too. In Romans 7, Paul vividly writes about this war within himself. For I do not understand my own actions. For I do not do what I want, but I do the very thing that I hate. For I have the desire to do what is right, not the ability to carry it out. He often talks about the battle between flesh and spirit, and about the old and new self. It's encouraging that the New Testament normalizes this aspect of being human, and that our chaos-oriented fallen nature is always undermining our rational desires to be virtuous and ordered. What you'll not find in the New Testament, however, is an encouragement to just resign yourself to the two sides of yourself and embrace them as both essential aspects of who you are. The Bible never encourages us to accept the beastly side of our fallen nature as sanctified goods, as if the hide side of our nature is somehow part of a hallowed true self that we shouldn't hide, but rather let loose without shame. And the message of this movie is let the bad parts have you out. If you have some toxic aspects of your personality, it's okay to let those go. Show your true self. Be true to yourself. Don't hide, who you are or what you feel. Don't self-monitor the bad things out of your life. Yet our culture today tells us to do precisely this, and so does Turning Red. At one point, here's the scene I was talking about. At one point in the film, Malin's dad is talking to her about the various sides to ourselves, and he says that here's the quote, some sides are messy, the point isn't to push the bad stuff away, it's to make room for it to live with. Like, at this point, this is the point at the film when I started laughing. I actually started busting out laughing because I could not believe they just said it out loud. Before this scene, I actually said, Kristen, like, this feels a little bit on the nose. Like, I feel very much like I'm being preached at here about there is a very specific lesson that this movie wants me to take away. And this is the lesson. They don't even try to, like, hide it. It's just they came right out and said it in the words. Don't push the bad stuff away. Make room for it and live with it. And then Malin's final line in the film puts an even blunter point on it. We've all got an inner beast, she says in a didactic summary directed to the children watching. We've all got a messy, loud, weird part of ourselves hidden away, and a lot of us never let it out. But I did. How about you? And so the film ends with an invitation, like a call to the altar for people to let out their bad qualities. Now, you might be thinking, like, if you haven't watched the movie, you could be thinking, well, I mean, like, it's not bad to let out things that are weird about you necessarily. Like, I'm nerdy, and I talk about Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, like, all the time, and I don't really watch sports. And if I tried to pretend to be into sports, but I didn't like it, like, that's not being authentic to my real desires, and I'm just doing that to gain other people's favor, and that's bad, okay? But the movie's not about that. The movie doesn't portray it like that. The movie with this line up here from her dad, the point isn't to push the bad stuff away, it's to make room for it and live with it. This movie is not about, like, trying to fit in with a crowd that you don't fit in with. This movie is about dealing with shame that's pushed on you by family or like those above you for things that are sometimes not good. Um, a messy, loud, weird part of ourselves. And also, if you're just a loud, messy, weird person, usually these have words. This has become a way of describing people who are obnoxious and people who don't have a lot of friends, but it's a way to describe them in a good way. If somebody says that, oh, like I'm a little bit of a dramatic, messy person, and if you just can't handle me at who I am, then I don't need you in my life. Like that's the kind of person you don't want to be friends with. That is not a good person to be around. That's a person who is not willing to be kind and loving to the people around them. And encouraging that kind of behavior and calling for that kind of behavior in a children's movie it's really quite astounding. It's like Pixar has become like those old Sunday school, or like even VeggieTales, like those old Sunday school movies or VeggieTales where they clearly are pushing a Christian lesson on the children. It's like Pixar has become that for the church of the woke, for the church of the United States of America, the religion of materialism that we have here, and self-acceptance. It's it's crazy. Let's go on. It's a message entirely in keeping with the love who you are zeitgeist. And it's not altogether different from the break free empowerment anthems we heard in Disney movies for years. That's true, but it's never been so just out there. I said on the nose earlier. It really is on the nose. I mean, it's like tactless. It's a terrible message, as author, scholar Jessica Hooten Wilson observes in a Twitter thread critiquing the film. Oh, I'd like to see that thread. Real freedom is actually the opposite of letting your inner beast run wild. You exhibit liberty not by being a slave to your desires. You show freedom by controlling the beast part of you and allowing the higher nature to come out. And yeah, that's a true statement. If you live a life that is totally indulgent, completely free, without any kind of self-control, you are a slave to yourself. It is it's through Christ that we get liberty. But yeah, living according to the law of Christ, according to the law of love, loving your neighbor better than yourself, giving up from yourself, and serving others instead of doing what you want, that we find true freedom and liberty. It's then that we find happiness. And this film explains the exact opposite. Okay. Do we really want to encourage children to abandon all efforts to constrain the lesser parts of themselves, as if any attempt to tame beastly passions is the illegitimate erasure of identity imposed by oppressive systems, whether parents, pastors, or the patriarchy? Ooh, the patriarchy. Yikes. Like, imagine a world in which children are just encouraged to do whatever they want, and any kind of input or saying, no, that's not appropriate, is just evil oppression. Can you imagine dealing with these children? And like when they become teenagers and adults? Like, I don't want to have a part with any kid who's like that, That's the kind of people I want to keep out of my life. It's scary. Embrace the mess may be a cute coffee mug slogan. Okay, yeah, I talked about that a little earlier. But if it justifies sinful behavior under the banner of authenticity and expressive identity, it's bankrupt moral philosophy that will shipwreck your life. Absolutely. Great statement. This was also crazy, okay? This is an actual line from the film. My panda, my choice. Pixar intentionally references a slogan praising the ability of women to kill their unborn children in a children's movie. Like, at least we know what side they're on. I'm glad that I know now how every person who works for Pixar votes, or at least the vast majority of them. I know which side of the political aisle they're on. Near the end of Turning Red, a shockingly brazen line, that's a great way of putting it, is spoken by Malin, leaves no doubt about the film's worldview. So as she prepares to go out with her friends, having decided to embrace rather than hide the beast part of herself, her mom protests that she's about to go out in public with her panda ears and tail showing. Maylin responds, "My panda, my choice, Mom." Okay, it's not just even like the abortion slogan reference there, but also like her mom's response to this is just to kind of like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm being a little like."
Suddenly she can do whatever she wants and it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Kristen says suddenly she can do whatever she wants because she's 13 years old. Like, Pixar's literally advocating. This is the end of the film. This is the very end when all the things are solved and there's no more problems. And now her relationship with her mom is healthy. Apparently, a healthy relationship with your mother is talking back and doing whatever you want without caring at all about her input. And apparently, mothers are just supposed to take that. What? This is not a good way to have a relationship with your parents as a 13-year-old child. Children should listen to their parents, even if their parents are manipulative and controlling. Like, you need to respect and listen to your parents because you're 13 years old. You don't know what's going on. It's crazy. I told Kristen, I don't think the people who wrote that line have children. They must not. Like, if you think that that's a healthy way to raise a child or a healthy way to have relations with a young teenager, I think you're crazy. That's absolute nonsense. Okay. It's a nod to the favorite slogan of pro-abortion activists, "My body, my choice," a triumphal declaration by a 13-year-old girl that what she does and with and to her body is her choice, whatever her parents or elders might say. As if a 13-year-old girl always knows best. True. This scene brought to mind Abigail Schreier's Irreversible Damage, a harrowing book that spends a great deal of time lamenting the dangerous subversion of parental authority in the transgender agenda. This is a reference to Abigail Schreier wrote a book. I think I listened to her on the Joe Rogan podcast about these girls, or excuse me, or I think they're boys actually who've transitioned to girls, or it could be girls who've transitioned to boys. I can't remember which way it is. Who, after transitioning, they regret their choice, and now they can't go back. Their bodies are actually damaged because they've had hormonal treatment, and they can never be normal now. And they realize that they made a mistake when they were actually like 13 years old, And everybody around them told them, "Oh yes, transition. After you transition, you'll feel better." And then a lot of them don't. It's absolutely horrible. Are you a 13-year-old girl who feels somewhere that messy, irrational stew of adolescent feelings that you just might actually be a boy? If so, find a trans-affirming therapist who will just sign off on hormone treatments and maybe top surgery, and do it all without ever telling your parents. That's not an exaggeration, by the way. Abigail Schreier talks about in the book, like there were, advisors and counselors in the schools who actually wanted to hide these decisions from the parents. You definitely need to look up Abigail Schreier in this book. Also, this book was I think they took it off of Amazon. I think Amazon actually just removed it from like Kindle. So there's a lot of pushback about this book because it was considered anti-trans. But I mean, we need to get this message out there. So yeah, definitely look up Abigail Schreier, see what she has to say. It's very important stuff there. To be clear, Turning Red is not explicitly promoting a transgender agenda. That's true. It's not promoting transgenderism. It tries to be a little more general than that. You could definitely make applications from that. You could make applications about dealing with same-sex attraction or just being like having some toxic bad habits, You could really apply it to anything. But it is promoting the same worldview that undergirds the transgender agenda. Embrace the messiness of your conflicted inner self, trust all your feelings, and don't let anyone, even your parents, stop you in your quest to be whatever sort of person, or gender, or animal species you want to be. In the realm of advice we give to kids, this message is not just bad, it's criminal. True statement. For that reason, my advice on Turning Red is turn it off. When we tell our kids to just let it go or let it out with regard to their fallen and confused self, it's not empowering, it's endangering. That is 100% true. I would never show this movie to a child. I would never show it to a child. And I will never watch this movie again. At best, this movie is just cringy. At the worst, like he says, it's endangering. It's training your child to become a selfish, entitled, toxic person who cannot maintain friendships. Because refusing to work on your own self and better your own self does not make you a good person. It's just a bad movie. It's horrible. I don't know if I have anything else to say, and I'm astounded that Pixar gave us something this bad. I feel bad for kids growing up these days because you can't show them movies like this. Well, this movie isn't even a kid's movie. Like I said before, this is a movie marketed to teens and tweens. Marketed to kids, but intended for teens and tweens and for parents. Yeah. I don't know. You have anything else to say about this movie? Well, that's all I have to say about this movie. It's horrible. Let me know if you agree in the comments.